All right, let's talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide coming into a massive matchup, of course, at Kyle Field to play the Texas A&M Aggies. And Nick Saban has come out and made a really smart move in terms of how he is structuring his practice. Let's go ahead and jump into the news. This is from Bama Central. Mize, if you'll throw up the report, I will read from it. Nick Saban isn't making any claims about our Texas A&M ranks in terms of toughness of opponent like he did last week with Mississippi State, but the Alabama head coach knows the difficulty ahead for his team against the Aggies. It's going to be really important for us to have the kind of intensity that we need to have throughout the week in practice, Saban said Monday. It's almost like, hey, we're going to challenge you. This is the important part this week. We're going to challenge you this week in practice because it's going to be hard in the game, and you need to be locked in all week long. You need to be ready for the challenge that you're going to get when you play against a good team on the road in a really tough environment. Texas A&M is unranked, but the Aggie season so far has been on a pretty similar trajectory to number 12 Alabama. Both teams are 4-1, 2-0 in the SEC with a non-conference loss in week 2. A&M lost on the road to number 17 Miami, while Alabama lost at home to number 3 Texas. All right, so I think this is what we're seeing from Nick Saban. I think it's a really good move because I think a few weeks ago things were looking down the dumps. The season was spiraling. Now back-to-back double-digit victories against Ole Miss and Mississippi State. It's almost looking like Alabama is building some momentum, but Nick Saban very smartly is not letting it get into the player's head. He's actually ramping up the intensity. I think it's really smart. And Mize, I'm curious what your thoughts are about it. But before I hand it over to you, Alabama fans in the comment section below, now's your chance before the game. Give us your prediction. The final score, Texas A&M, Alabama at Kyle Field. Final score of this game, Crimson Tide blowout victory, close game, or does A&M pull off the upset? Whatever you think is going to happen, let us know in the comment section below. But all right, Mize, what are your thoughts on this decision by Nick Saban in terms of ranking up the intensity in terms of practice and preparation for this game?
Yeah, Nick, I think this is huge for Alabama. I think this is going to be a big game because, I mean, this is a semi-rivalry, the Jimbo Fisher-Saban connection. These teams always play each other tough in the SEC West. This is a game that is going to have a lot of implications on the line. And although, I don't know why, but Texas A&M not ranked at this time, I think this is one of probably the toughest game left on the schedule for Alabama, regardless of rank or not. I know they got Tennessee, LSU, and Kentucky, but I think this is probably the toughest game left on the schedule for them, and I don't think they can go into this game asleep. You see a team like Texas A&M, not ranked, maybe slide under the radar a little bit. I think Saban knows better. He knows what is coming, so I like the approach that he has to. Now, Alabama, currently they own the state of Mississippi. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Mississippi State. They're down against Texas. They need to bring it back against A&M. So I think this could be a big game for Alabama. But like we said, Alabama has been back and forth, up and down all season. They finally seem to have potentially found a little bit of juice, a little bit more stability at this point in the quarterback position. So I think they need to ride. I think they need to roll into this game against A&M. Then they can show a little bit of dominance. If they're able to win this one, they start to feel a little bit better about things and roll in through the rest of the season. Because I think with the stability of the quarterback position being in question so much, they are going to have as much confidence coming through the end of the season because they have 3 more ranked teams on the docket coming through this season until they can potentially get to an SEC championship game. So I think this could be huge for them. There's SEC championship implications here as well. So this game, all in all, is going to be a big one for Alabama. So I really like what Saban is doing, Nick.
And I think you hit on a couple things that are important. A&M isn't ranked, but I want to look at the guys that are ranked on Alabama's schedule. You look at Tennessee, I think they're okay. I don't think they're not nearly as good as they were last year. I think that's pretty obvious. LSU looks like they're falling apart at the seams. They blew that game to Ole Miss. They got demolished by Florida State. They almost lost to Arkansas, especially on defense. LSU's atrocious. And then Kentucky, I feel like every year for the past 15 years, Kentucky gets off to a hot start. They're ranked for a little bit, and then they fall apart and they finish 7-5, 6-6, or 5-7, like we expect. So Kentucky may look ranked now, but let's be honest, that's probably not going to last. So if you look at what Nick Saban is realizing here, and again, if you back up to halftime of the Ole Miss game, coming out of the half against Ole Miss, the previous 10 quarters of football that Alabama had played. They had lost by double digits at home to Texas. They had played absolutely horrifically bad against South Florida, and they were trailing with a terrible offensive half against Ole Miss at that point. At that point, Saban's like, okay, this is a rebuilding year. We're just trying to find out if we've got guys for 2024. Now, after finishing off Ole Miss, winning by double digits, and demolishing Mississippi State, he recognizes going into this game, and I'm sure he's looking at the schedule too, that he's like, we actually right now have the clearest path to winning the SEC West if we beat A&M, because A&M, in my opinion, I think Saban would agree with this, is the second best team behind Alabama in the SEC West right now. I think that's actually undisputed. I think the other guys, especially LSU, I think they're on the verge of totally collapsing. We know Auburn really stinks. They look really, really bad this year, not playing Georgia close withstanding. So I think Saban recognizes that, and that's why I think it's really smart. He's repping up the intensity. He's putting back that pressure, that championship pressure, back on his team. And this is what smart coaches do. They know when to release the thumb a little bit. Things are going bad. Things are spiraling. He takes a step back, maybe relaxes a smidgen for Saban, allows his guys to get their composure, get everything under control. They solve Ole Miss. They demolish Mississippi State. Okay, we're back on track. But hey, pressure back on. We're not going to fall for any of the rat poison or anything like that. Excuse me. I love what Nick Saban is doing here.